Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Welcome into the Steelers Talk Live Show. I am your host, Jack Sperry. That is producer Jeffrey Cooperstein. We got a bunch of great Steelers content coming your way here over the next hour or so. We got a jam-packed show today, Coop. We got 4 segments to get to, so we'll try to get into our first segment here relatively quickly. And first up today, we'll talk about the latest news and rumors. We got an unfortunate injury update for rookie receiver Roman Wilson today. We'll talk about that at the top of the show. Then we'll get into my updated wide receiver targets. I got my top 10 list of the top 10 receivers that the Steelers can go out and target before the NFL trade deadline in a few weeks. Also, we got our official Week 8 preview today versus the New York Giants. I got 6 keys to victory for the Steelers to secure victory in this one. And then also at the end of today's show, we're going to have our live Q&A. So if you guys want to get a question on today's show, if you want to be right next to me when I'm on camera here during our live mailbag here, you guys can go ahead and use hashtag Steelers, not just Steelers, hashtag Steelers Coop in the chat. Or you guys can super chat to guarantee your spot on the show, okay? The only way you guarantee that your question gets on the show is if you super chat. So if you guys want to make sure you get on the show, use super chat, or you guys can use hashtag Steelers for a chance to get on the mailbag today. And we've already got our first $5 super chat from my man Omar's Burner coming in. He says, channeling in my inner Windhorst here and wondering why the Rams are pushing Puka back. Very intriguing what would happen if Rams lose tonight. Fire sale, they're
not trading Puka.
They're not trading Puka, and I don't think he's insinuating that. I think he's saying they're rushing him back because they know they're trading Kupp, and they need to have Puka ready to go.
Possible.
So, I honestly think Puka's just ready to play. I don't think it's necessarily has anything to do with Cooper Kupp, Omar, if I'm being honest with you, but that's a good one to put into the mailbag, Coop. Appreciate you, Omar. And by the way, love the new profile picture there. I see your new agenda has officially launched here, Omar. So hopefully,
Omar, we're 0 for 2 already.
Hopefully the third time's the charm, though, Coop.
Look, you saw the meme that I put on the show yesterday.
It is definitely interesting for sure, and hopefully Omar Khan can deliver for us here because a big-time receiver like Cooper Kupp could certainly catapult this team to a whole nother level offensively.
Shout out Michael Hansen in the chat, watching from Denmark.
Hey,
Shout
Michael,
out.
Thanks for watching.
It's like
with
11
us,
p.m. over there right now.
Absolutely. If you guys want to send in a donation today, you guys can send in a super chat. Absolutely, that is a way you guys can do it. Or you guys could send in a donation via my Venmo, Cashapp, or PayPal if you want us to keep more of your donation dollars. All right. The reason why we give you guys the Venmo and the Cashapp and PayPal option is because YouTube takes 30% of every single dollar that you guys donate to Steelers Talk via Super Chat. So if you guys want us to keep more of your donation dollars, you guys can send in your donations via Venmo at Jack-Sperry there, money sign Captain Jack 19 on Cash App, or at Captain Jack Rabbit on PayPal. So really do appreciate all of your guys' support. And if you guys want to send a donation, great. If you don't, that's absolutely fine as well. All we care about is that you love the Pittsburgh Steelers and you want to talk some ball with us today. So our watch party on Monday is going to be 7 p.m. Eastern is when we're going to be going live. Obviously, no show on Sunday because obviously the Steelers don't play on Sunday. So we won't have any live show like a regular live show on Monday, but we will be going live for our live watch party starting at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So if you guys want to join us for that, that's when we'll be going live. So greatly appreciate your guys' support with all the watch parties this year. They've been a huge, huge success. And let me tell you something right now. Marshall Green, the host of our Giants channel, they have a pretty good super chat culture there on Giants Now as well. And they think they're going to dethrone us this week.
We know what happened the last time someone challenged us. That's all I'll say about that.
The two biggest team channels here at Chat Sports, the Cowboys Report and the Raiders Report, both challenged us to super chat battles, and they both lost. I don't think that New York is going to – I don't think it's going to be any different result.
Not only did they lose, they got crushed. It's going to happen again.
It's going to happen again, baby. You got to believe it. First time super chat from my man Gary Frank. Let's give him some Ric Flair drip. Woo! And he says, I hear Giants are inquiring about Fields. What are your thoughts? Gary, where are you hearing that? I actually haven't heard that.
I have not heard that either.
But that's definitely very interesting. But here's what I'll say, Gary. I don't think the Steelers are interested in trading either of their quarterbacks because, like, right now, Russell Wilson did play pretty well in that first game in his season debut last week against the Jets, but he's still a long ways here, in my opinion, from really solidifying himself. A couple bad games from Russell Wilson could mean Justin Fields takes back the starting job. So I don't think that's necessarily set in stone as we sit here today that Russell Wilson is the quarterback. So I think that's why Fields is probably not a quarterback or not an option for the Steelers to trade away. Also, I think that the Steelers, even if they did have Russell Wilson as their long-term solidified starting quarterback, he's had a little bit of an injury issue this year, and you never know when that calf might flare up again. And so to have that backup option could be huge for the Steelers.
And if he gets injured and you end up trading Justin Fields, your backup's Kyle Allen, and you do not want Kyle Allen starting an NFL football game. I know,
especially in the playoffs.
He might be a fine emergency option, but starting a game, absolutely not. So there's no reason to trade Fields.
So I appreciate you, Gary. Thank you for that $5. We'll put that on the mailbag as well.
I wanted to shout out Maya's in the chat, who always comes in hot. She says, "What's up, Koopy, and also Jackie? Do you guys see the Steelers in the Super Bowl? And also, what about Cooper Kupp?" We'll answer that on the mailbag. And then, but the more important thing she said was F the Raiders and also F the New York Giants. Look,
F the Raiders. F the Giants. F the Raiders. F the Giants.
Look, they fucked around and found out. We'll see if the Giants do the same.
Absolutely. So we're gonna, flash up the Black Diamonds here real quick. If you're a Black Diamond, that means you have put in at least $500 on a singular Steelers Talk live stream. It's this community right here of the real ones that have really done so much to help us do what we love every single day, and that's talk Steelers football with you guys every single day for free right here on YouTube. So if you guys want to become a Black Diamond member, we have jerseys for watch parties for every Black Diamond member. Plus, you get your very own Super Chat sticker with Cassie going to New Orleans to watch Taylor Swift at the Superdome this weekend. I'm actually going to have a little bit of free time to work on some of these Black Diamond stickers. So
are you saying Cassie occupies your free time?
Yes, quite a bit during the weekends, and that's okay. But on Monday, we should have quite a few of these other Super Chat or the Super Chat stickers done. So if you don't have yours yet, put F Sperry in the chat, and hopefully we'll have it on Monday. Also, guys, if you want more Steelers content from me throughout the days, throughout the weeks, you guys can find me at Jack_Sperry on X, and then you guys can find me and Steelers Talk on IG at Steelers CS. All right, man, so let's get into our first segment today. But first, man, make sure you type those me's in the chat. We got over 220 people watching live around the world right now, so type those me's if you want a shout out. Make sure you click that thumbs up icon. Right now we got over 200 people watching, Coop.
The real ones.
Only 30 likes.
That's BS.
That's BS. Let's get that number up to 50 likes. The real ones know that helping this channel, the easiest way you guys can do that is clicking that thumbs up icon. So, Coop, give some shout outs to the people spamming me.
Kevin shout outs. Kevin Reed, Cassie, Richard Castillo, your boy Chew Milk, Luke Askew, what up, Luke? Brian, your boy Chew Milk, Christian Andujar, Steelers fan 2010. Let's go. AA Clips, Michael Hansen, Tegster. Also, before we started this segment, Sperry, I wanted your quick thoughts. DeAndre Hopkins to the Chiefs.
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins to the Chiefs. We got it early Tuesday morning, I believe. And, here's
I know you wanted him.
Yeah, I would have been very much in on him, especially if, like, Cooper Kupp went to the Chiefs, for example. But if you would have given me a choice on Monday night, Coop, between DeAndre Hopkins or Cooper Kupp to the Steelers.
Oh, I'm taking Kupp.
But, and here's the other portion of it, the other person, the guy I don't choose to be on the Steelers has to go to the Chiefs. I'm picking Cooper Kupp on the Steelers, DeAndre Hopkins on the Chiefs.
Easily.
Because Andy Reid, with his ability to scheme things open for certain guys and Kupp's versatility, that would just be absolutely lethal. So DeAndre Hopkins is a good, hands receiver, good red zone threat, but overall his route tree is a little bit limited in terms of the role that he can play. Whereas with Cooper Kupp, Andy Reid could have completely opened up the playbook like they do for Rashee Rice,
100%.
And that would have been absolutely disgusting. So I love that Cooper Kupp is still available. Does it suck that the Steelers didn't get DeAndre Hopkins? Sure, yeah, but if you end up getting Cooper Kupp, I think that is a perfectly great consolation prize if you are the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, man, I'm not going to make you wait any longer. Let's get into the latest news and rumors surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers. Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today we've got a full slate of Steelers news and rumors to cover right here on the channel. First up, Roman Wilson had a setback with his hamstring injury. I'll let you guys know my thoughts on the news that we got on Roman today and what his future with the Pittsburgh Steelers looks like after what's pretty much a redshirt season it's looking like for the rookie out of Michigan. Then we'll go into a Bleacher Report article that listed the Pittsburgh Steelers as the #1 trade destination for Cooper Kupp and what kind of trade compensation they think the Steelers should give up for him. And then we'll also talk about Calvin Austin III, and an ESPN reporter has linked Calvin Austin III as a trade candidate for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Should the Steelers trade number 19? I'll give you guys my answer at the end of today's show, and I'll make sure you guys stick around here because later I'm going to tell you something that Colin Cowherd said on a show earlier this week about the Steelers that you simply will not believe. Now, before we get into the news and rumors coverage here on Steelers Talk today, you guys can go give me a follow on X for daily Steelers content at Jack_Sperry. And then also we just started a brand new Steelers Talk official Instagram page where we put out more short-form content on the Steelers on that. That's outside of this YouTube channel. So you guys can go check that out at SteelersCS. So let's get into the content today, man, starting with some bad news here when it comes to Roman Wilson, where he suffered a setback with the hamstring injury that he has been dealing with as of late. And, of course, he had that ankle injury. We got all the way back. Then he had a hamstring issue, and now he suffered a setback in yesterday's practice on Wednesday, according to Alan Saunders here. He says wide receiver Roman Wilson suffered an aggravation of his hamstring injury during practice on Wednesday, per a team source. He did not practice today meaning Thursday. So unfortunately, that probably means that Roman Wilson's season is more than likely done. Now, maybe towards the end of the season, he can get a helmet and maybe gets on the field. Maybe he carves himself a rollout, but he wasn't really playing much as it was. Brandon Johnson was getting a helmet over him after he re-aggravated that hamstring injury, and now that he's re-aggravated it again, it's like, he's going to be out multiple weeks, and then, as Mike Tomlin has said, he's getting on a moving train, and, the train's going to be even further along at that point. Plus, Brandon Johnson has that experience with Russell Wilson, and he can be a pretty decent depth piece for this wide receiver room. And if you add another guy like a Cooper Kupp or somebody else, it's just going to be difficult here for Roman Wilson to really get a helmet for the rest of the season. I think it's going to be more like a Calvin Austin III situation where he's pretty much getting a red shirt season in his rookie season here in the National Football League. But listen, man, now that Roman's gone, I think that increases Pittsburgh's need to go out and get a wide receiver because Roman Wilson is not going to be filling that role this season, it looks like. So going out and getting Cooper Kupp, going out and getting somebody else on the wide receiver trade market before the deadline, I think is just even more of a pressing need now that Roman Wilson is dealing once again with this setback with his hamstring. So get well soon, Roman. If you want to send some love to number 10, spam his number 10, down there in the comments section. We're a community of love, of positivity here on Steelers Talk, man. You never know who watches these videos, man. So, Roman, if you're watching, we love you, and make sure you send your love today by sending those 10s in the comments section. So now let's get into a Bleacher Report article here centering around Cooper Kupp and the destinations that he may end up with. And Bleacher Report listed the Pittsburgh Steelers as the #1 destination for the former All-Pro wide receiver. And of course, we've talked about Cooper Kupp a ton on the show this week, but this is what Alex Ballantyne thinks that the Steelers should give up for the former All-Pro Ram receiver. Let's not get too fancy here. If the Rams want a second-round pick for Kupp, the Steelers would be wise to oblige. The Steelers have been no stranger to wide receiver trade rumors in recent months. They were one of the most popular hypothetical trade destinations for San Francisco 49ers wideout Brandon Ayuk during the offseason, and they were also connected to Davante Adams before the Raiders shipped him to the Jets. The Steelers need another receiving threat to pair with George Pickens to be taken seriously in the AFC. Both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields have shown promise at quarterback, and the defense has not been the problem in Pittsburgh. And then also in this article, 4 other teams that were listed as potential destinations for Cooper Kupp: the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Chargers, the Commanders, and the 49ers. Now, I think the team on this list that you really need to be watching out for, guys, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right, they just lost Chris Godwin for the season with a dislocated ankle, and Cooper Kupp can fill his role perfectly in the slot. So look for the Buccaneers to also be very aggressive to potentially go get Cooper Kupp to help Baker Mayfield and that offense, especially now that Mike Evans, I should say, is dealing with an injury there in Tampa. But when it comes to Pittsburgh, man, I don't necessarily think the Steelers need to send a second-round pick for Cooper Kupp. Now, if it comes down to it and the Rams are like, hey, man, you need to give us a second-round pick or we're not going to trade him to you, then at that point, I'm willing to do it. Okay, I think Cooper Kupp is the type of player that can change the fortunes of this franchise, not only this year, but in future seasons. But how about this hypothetical, man? If the Rams come up to Omar Khan and they're like, you know what? Tampa's offered us their third-round pick. That's the highest they go. We like their third-round pick better than the prospects of your third-round pick. You have to offer us your second or we're not dealing with you. In that scenario, are you taking the deal or are you not? For me, I am. I think that Cooper Kupp is exactly the type of guy the Steelers need to go get, no matter what the price tag is. Now, let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Would you trade a second-round pick for Cooper Kupp? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section for today's pinned comment. In just a second here, I'm going to be telling you about our friends at Mando Whole Body Deodorant. And while I'm talking about today's sponsor, go down there in the comment section and give me a yes or a no. So let's talk about Mando Whole Body Deodorant here. And guys, let me ask you a little bit of a weird question, okay? How do you deodorize your balls? Most people will just use soap in the shower or even put some cologne down there, but after a few hours, that smell starts to fade and a less desirable smell starts to come up. Lucky for you, our friends at Mando Whole Body Deodorant have come up with the perfect solution with their brand new spray deodorant. It won't irritate your sensitive bits because the first ingredient is water, not alcohol, and it's proven to control odor for 72 hours. It also has a 360-degree spray and works upside down. So it's perfect for getting this stuff anywhere on your body from any angle. Take advantage of Mando's special offer just for Steelers Talk listeners, which gives new customers $5 off their best-selling starter pack with code CHAT at shopmando.com. So if you guys want to see what some of these products look like, this is what their deodorant spray looks like. They got the 360-degree sprayer, and it's absolutely fantastic. Also, the smell is awesome. It's bourbon leather, so it's kind of like a cologne quality scent. It doesn't smell all musty and kind of like soapy or anything like that, like some other spray deodorants. Plus, there's also great products that you can get in the starter pack, like this mini body wash here that's also bourbon leather. I got a big bottle of this in my shower at home. I love the way it smells, and it keeps me smelling fresh for up to 72 hours. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers because it comes with a solid stick of deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like you can pick a body wash like I just showed you, or they also have awesome deodorant wipes as well if that's more your thing. Plus, you get free shipping. Luckily, I have a discount code that'll help you get hooked on my favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market today. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code that equates to over 40% off your starter pack. So use code CHAT at shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. It's time to smell better naked with Mando Whole Body Deodorant today. So speaking of Steelers trade rumors, most of the time it's about players the Steelers are acquiring, but there's a new recent rumor out there from ESPN's Brooke Pryor where she listed Calvin Austin III as the only player on the Steelers roster that she says could get traded before the NFL trade deadline. Now, to be fair to Brooke, she did say that this is unlikely, but this is what she had to say. The only scenario that makes Austin or any other Steelers player a tradable asset is if trading him away gains a more established player at the position. Could Pittsburgh package Austin with a late-round pick to acquire a solid number 2 receiver? Now, listen, man, personally, I'm not in favor of trading Calvin Austin III, okay? I think he's been awesome on film getting open. Now, is he a legit number 2 receiver? You can argue no because he's only like 5'9", 5'10". He's such a tiny target where even though he gets open all the time, he definitely doesn't have the best let's say, range of catchability for him, okay? So you have to pretty much put it on him. He needs to be relatively wide open. But you look at the numbers here throughout this season, 21 targets, which he has converted to 11 catches, 203 yards, and a touchdown. He had that really long touchdown from Justin Fields in the Chargers game. He's had a couple real nice chunk plays. But as I've complained about on the show quite a bit, especially when Justin Fields was the quarterback, Calvin Austin III hasn't been getting the ball enough. I think that he is getting open all the time on film, and that trend continued even with Russell Wilson on the field in Week 7 versus the New York Jets. This guy was getting open a lot, and, he only had one catch on the day. Yes, he did have that one drop early in the game, which you don't want to see, and, Calvin doesn't have the best hands in the world. He's not much of a contested catch guy, so he needs to be open, but the thing is, he is getting open, so I do think that he could be a really good wide receiver 3 option for the Pittsburgh Steelers, a big play threat. Now, if you can add another receiver to this group, like a Cooper Kupp or a Darius Slayton or maybe a Jacoby Myers or even Mike Williams, that would allow Calvin Austin III to really settle into his role as a big play threat at the number 3 position instead of being a true number 2 receiver in the current formulation of the Steelers wide receiver room. So that's where I'm at with Calvin Austin III. Now, before we go here, I did promise you guys something from Colin Cowherd, and he actually complimented the Pittsburgh Steelers on his show this week. He even put them number 9 overall in the NFL in his herd hierarchy this week. This is what he had to say about Russell Wilson's Pittsburgh Steelers. It's the Russell Wilson Steelers. They looked good. I mean, they outscored the Jets 24-0 in the second half. I'm sorry, that's impressive. When they play at home, Russell Wilson doesn't turn the ball over, can be pretty good in the red zone, have a home run threat in Pickens, a Super Bowl winning head coach. Najee Harris, I've liked for years. So listen, man, as we know and as we've covered on this show, Uncle Colin hasn't been too favorable of the Pittsburgh Steelers, constantly talking about how they're an outdated organization. Mike Tomlin is an outdated old head coach that they need to replace. And, he said a lot of stuff about the Steelers, even saying at one point that he thought this team this year would only win 5 or 6 games. But now even he is coming around here, and he's even putting them in the 9 to 10 win category, which of course would be a playoff berth or something close to it for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So if Colin Cowherd is starting to come around to the Pittsburgh Steelers, you know that this is one heck of a football team that we have on our hands right now in Pittsburgh. So fill in the blank for me down there in the comment section. The Steelers are a top blank team in the NFL today. For me personally, I think they're a top 8 football team. That would be my answer. Right now, I have them ranked 8th on my current power rankings. If Russell Wilson continues to play well, I could see this team certainly climb up that ladder even more in the weeks to come. But right now, I think they're a top 8 football team in the National Football League. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Really do appreciate you guys sticking around with me to the end of today's news and rumors segment. I will catch you guys tomorrow with more Steelers content for free right here on Steelers Talk. So until then, here we go, Steelers. All right, first segment in the books. I like that one. Couple different, topics to discuss on news and rumors. Anything that stood out to you during that segment, Coop?
Even Cowherd, who's been like the biggest Steelers hater over the last year or so, is giving the Steelers compliments, so they must be doing something right here. That stood out to me. The Calvin Austin thing is weird. Like, I don't think there's any way they trade Calvin Austin.
Yeah,
Not now, at least.
Yeah, before it was like, I could see them maybe throwing him in for like a Devontae Adams or a Brandon Ayuk or something along those lines. But like I said in the show, man, like if you trade him away, then you kind of have a wide receiver 3 problem again.
Exactly. You just move it down the food chain from wide receiver 2 to 3.
And it's like if you add a Cooper Kupp, if you add a Darius Slayton, if you add somebody that could be a legit number 2 receiver or even a number 1 receiver in Cooper Kupp's case, it's like you got George Pickens, you've got the new receiver that you bring in, and then Calvin Austin III, I would argue, would be one of the best number 3 receivers in the game. You would have your wide receiver position would go from not so great below average to clearly above average, in my opinion, because Calvin Austin III, he might be small, he might be a tiny target to hit, but he gets open a lot, and he's a big play threat. So to have him as your number 3 receiver, I think would be extremely valuable to a team that's trying to win now.
Dude, if he's a number 3, I think you're sitting really pretty. He just fits the profile of a number 3 receiver, a guy that can just get open in the slot and wreak havoc, essentially. I think he'd be awesome as a 3.
Yeah, I completely agree. So coming up here, we actually have my updated list of top 10 Steelers wide receiver targets of the top 10 realistic trade options at wide receiver before the deadline.
Some names we've talked about, some new names on the list.
Some new names on the list, yes, and some names that we've talked about before, of course. But if you guys have a question about anything pertaining to the Pittsburgh Steelers, the quarterback situation, whether Mike Tomlin sucks, the wide receiver trade rumors. If you got any questions, use hashtag Steelers or Super Chat to get on the show, okay? Because we're going to be doing a mailbag at the end of today's program. So make sure you guys use hashtag Steelers or Super Chat to get your questions on the show. Again, if you guys want to send a donation to us, you guys can Super Chat. The way you do that, click the money sign close to the place you put the comments. And then also you put in a money amount and then you put it in. Also, if you guys want to spend more of your money to us, and YouTube takes a 30% cut of every single super chat you send in. If you don't want YouTube to take 30% of your donation dollars, you want us to keep more of that money, you guys can send a donation to @Jack-Sperry on Venmo. You guys can send a Cashapp to #CaptainJack19. And then also you can send it to PayPal @CaptainJackRabbit. Okay, man. So, Coop, are we feeling ready to get into this next segment here?
I think we are. I'm just checking something for the Mavs game real quick later tonight. If you guys want to come join me, by the way, I'll be live on our Mavericks channel later.
Yeah, Coop's going to be live on the Mavericks channel for their season opener against the Spurs tonight.
Your Spurs.
My Spurs, absolutely. So I want to give some shout-outs to the people in the chat. We got D2, we got Jaw22X, we got Rayful Bennett. We've got Robert Rold in the chat. We got Amanda. We got Gary Frank. Kirk Crater's here. What's up, Kirk?
Crater.
We've got Sydney. We've got Christian Andujar. We got Alida Reaper. Mark Schrock. Sean Brown.
Let me fix this.
Got Michael. We've got Kevin Reed. We've got Offsides Edits. Got Leo Slabowski. We got Christian Andujar. Christian Andujar says, Roman Wilson looks like a bust, bro. He's injury prone.
Too early to say.
I think it's too early to say that. Calvin Austin obviously missed his entire rookie season, and I think we still kind of believe in his future.
Yep.
Corey Trice Jr. was injured his entire rookie season, and he's a dog. I think the jury's still out on Roman Wilson, but I will say I'm concerned about him. Right, the fact that this wide receiver room is in the state that it's in, Van Jefferson is playing as poorly as he has played this season, and Roman wasn't able to get into the starting lineup when he was healthy. That is definitely a concern, where if he's not practicing well enough to get on the field in this wide receiver room with Van Jefferson as listed as a starter, I think that might be a little bit of an issue for somebody that was drafted on day 2 of the NFL draft this year. Wishing him the best, man. Hope he has a full and speedy recovery, and hopefully, if it is next season, the next time we really see him on a playing field, hopefully he comes ready to go and he can be a big-time impact player heading into his sophomore season. All right, Coop, let's get into this next segment here. A really, really interesting segment. All right, we've got the top 10 wide receiver targets that, in my opinion, the Steelers should be considering. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into that. I need to get to my script, and there it is. And let's go right now. Welcome into Steelers Talk. On today's show, we're going to be talking about my updated list of wide receiver trade targets for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So today, we've got 10 names. I'm going to be ranking them 1 to 10 based on which players, if I were the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would target the most aggressively before the NFL trade deadline comes here in just a few weeks. Now, make sure you guys go down there right now and click that subscribe button, because when the con artist strikes, all right, when he delivers the next wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I do believe Omar is going to get a deal done before the deadline. When it happens, we're going to be going live right here on the channel for breaking news coverage. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I appreciate your guys' support. First up here, let's talk about some names that are getting floated around on kind of social media and, on the internet, all these different things that I just think are not very likely to happen. Some trade ideas, some trade targets that are floated around that I just don't think are going to come to fruition. So let's start with the ones I am near 100% sure are not happening. So we'll start with T. Higgins. Just don't see the Bengals helping out their arch rival, especially giving them a bona fide or like a borderline number 1 receiver in T. Higgins. Just don't see that whatsoever. Then we get to Garrett Wilson, all right? And I know that some teams have been calling about Garrett Wilson, seeing if the Jets would be open to trading him. But listen, man, they just drafted him extremely, extremely high. He's on his rookie contract. He is still very, very talented. They're banking on him developing a chemistry with Aaron Rodgers down the stretch here, and he is arguably the best number 2 receiver in football right now behind Devontae Adams. So I just don't see the Jets parting ways with Wilson. And then DK Metcalf for the Seahawks, all right? Right now, the Seahawks are sitting in first place in the NFC West, okay? And I just don't really see the Seahawks selling players by the deadline. I think the only way Metcalf actually gets traded anywhere this season is if he straight up demands a trade. And at this point, with the Seahawks sitting with an above 500 record at this point, I just don't see Metcalf demanding his way out of Seattle. So as much as, the Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf connection would be awesome here in Pittsburgh, I just don't really see that as a realistic possibility. Some other names that I think are less likely, maybe not impossible, but certainly not super likely at this point. Courtland Sutton. The Steelers inquired about him this offseason. The Broncos shut him down, and right now the Broncos are sitting above 500, so it appears like they're not going to be selling at the deadline either. And then Deebo Samuel, I think, is a name that teams have been calling about. Diana Rossini reported that teams are kind of keeping tabs on Deebo Samuel because I think the 49ers are probably going to try and trade Deebo next offseason, but I still think they're trying to win, even with all their injuries, even though they've started 3-4 this season. I do think that Deebo Samuel is probably going to remain a 49er for the rest of this year. So let's get into my list here, starting with my number one trade target. And if you've been watching the show lately, you should know that my number one trade target for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I honestly think he's in a class of his own, a tier of his own on this list, is Cooper Kupp. Because out of all the receivers that are realistic options for the Steelers that I'm going to be talking about today, I think Cooper Kupp is the only guy that could usurp George Pickens as this team's number one receiver immediately. All right, I think he brings so much to the table for the Pittsburgh Steelers if he ends up being traded here. You take a look at my scouting report. Pretty much everything about his game on the field is positive. He's got great size. He's an excellent run blocker. He separates down the field, intermediate and short. He's great after the catch. He's got reliable hands. He's been a number one receiver on a Super Bowl team. He's won a game-winning catch in a Super Bowl. The only con is that he's getting a little bit older at 31 years old, but that's not ancient, and he does have a little bit of an injury history, especially with his ankle. But you take a look at the cap hits for him, man. If the Steelers trade for him, you get Cooper Kupp for 3 more seasons at a pretty reasonable price. I mean, remember when we were talking about the Steelers potentially giving Brandon Ayuk $28 to $30 million on his next contract if they ended up landing him? You could get Cooper Kupp for $20 million in 2025, and then a little bit less than that in 2026, plus a pretty affordable rate in 2024, especially if the Rams end up taking some of his salary. And I just think that from a skill set perspective, his versatility, being able to line up outside, in the slot, and even in the backfield can provide so much and just add another element of creativity for Arthur Smith and his game planning here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You can target him deep, intermediate, short area, on third downs. You can do so much with Cooper Kupp, which is why I think that if I were the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'd be doing pretty much whatever it took, and I'd be sending the full court press to get this cat in a Steelers uniform as soon as I possibly can. So let me know down there in the comments section, what is the percent chance that Pittsburgh lands Cooper Kupp? Put it on a scale for me of 0 to 100 for today's pinned comment. Coming up here, YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, give me a number between 0 to 100 of the likelihood that Kupp becomes a Pittsburgh Steeler. Number 2 on my list is Darius Slayton, wide receiver from the New York Giants, okay? And Darius Slayton, I think, has been one of the most underutilized talents at the receiver position simply because of the quarterback that he's been playing with in Daniel Jones. Darius Slayton is a downfield vertical threat. This guy runs a 4.3, and Daniel Jones is the type of receiver that never throws it down the field. Okay, so his skill set as kind of that vertical threat, nice size, all this different stuff, it's been completely just negated by the New York Giants' lack of quarterback play throughout his career, which is why his production in New York just hasn't been elite. But I think he could take his game to a whole nother level here in Pittsburgh. Plus, he's only 27 years old. The kicker is the Steelers would have to sign him most likely to a new contract, especially if they don't want to make this a one-year rental. But I actually think he is a great fit for what the Pittsburgh Steelers want to do, because what do they want to do? They want to have that ground and pound run game with Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, and then they want to throw deep balls off of play action to guys like George Pickens with Russell Wilson throwing his moon balls. And this is certainly somebody that has the skill set to be able to play in this type of offense. He can separate down the field. This guy runs a 4.3 40, all right? And he does it with good size at over 6'1" and just about 200 pounds, all right? So he is a vertical deep threat. He's got reliable hands. I think that he has a little bit more route versatility compared to a guy like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who I kind of compare his game to, but it's kind of a similar version to MVS, only he's a way, way better version. I think that he's got way more reliable hands, doesn't have the drop issues. I think he's a better route runner, better short area quickness. Now, the production hasn't exactly been there, but like I said, I think that's because he's been playing with Daniel Jones for all these years, and he hasn't gotten an opportunity to really shine. So I think that Slayton would be a really, really good number 2 receiver option for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he comes at a pretty darn reasonable price tag for this season at, his base salary is 2.5, and by the way, that's prorated, so that's going to be even less because he's already played games with the New York Giants this season, so he's not going to really cost the Steelers anything if they end up making the trade. And then also, I think he could be a very solid number 2 option, not only for this year, but for many years to come in this style of offense that the Steelers like to run. So coming up here on Steelers Talk, I got more top wide receiver targets for the Steelers to consider. But before we get into the rest of today's show, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Mando Whole Body Deodorant. And let me ask you guys kind of a weird question here for a second. How do you deodorize your balls? Most people will just use soap in the shower or even put some cologne down there. But after a few hours, the smell starts to fade and the less desirable smell starts to come up during the day. Lucky for you, our friends at Mando Whole Body Deodorant have come up with the perfect solution with their brand new spray deodorant. It won't irritate your sensitive bits because the first ingredient is water, not alcohol, and it's proven to control odor for 72 hours. It also has a 360-degree spray and works upside down, so it's perfect for getting this stuff anywhere on your body from any angle. Take advantage of Mando's special offer for just Steelers Talk listeners, which gives new customers $5 off their best-selling starter pack with code CHAT at shopmando.com. So listen, man, here's some of the products. I got some of them right here. This is the deodorant spray right here. It's got the bourbon leather scent, so it's like a cologne quality scent. Plus, it keeps you smelling fresh for up to 72 hours. It works upside down as well. It's got the 360-degree a cap as well for the sprayer. Plus, you guys, when you get your starter pack here, you guys can get one of the mini body washes here. Also bourbon leather. I got a big bottle of this of my own at my house in my personal bathroom because I think it smells absolutely fantastic and keeps me smelling fresh all day long. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers because it comes with a solid stick of deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like the mini body wash that I just showed you, and they also have really great deodorant wipes as well, so if that's your thing, you could pick that as well. Plus, you get free shipping. Luckily, I have a discount code to help you get hooked on my favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. So use code CHAT at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. It's time to start smelling better naked with Mando Whole Body Deodorant today. Number 3 on my list of top wide receiver trade targets is Jakobi Meyers from the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, will the Raiders really want to trade away Meyers because he's pretty much now their number 1 receiver? I guess we'll have to see if they end up trying to trade him and really try to embrace this full rebuild. But he does have 2 years left on his current deal, including this season. So the Steelers would get him for 1 more season after this year if they trade for him. He's also 27 years old, just like Darius Slayton. He brings good size to the table as well. Now, the reason why I have Meyers ranked a little bit lower than Darius Slayton is because he doesn't have the vertical threat ability, but he's got great hands, and we'll go over his scouting report here in just a second. But just like Slayton, he's also very affordable. You get a $5 million prorated rate if you trade for him before the deadline, and then 2025 for your number 2 receiver, and that's what he'd be if you trade for him, just $11 million. That's a very reasonable amount of money for your number 2 receiver if you are the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you guys can see in my scouting report here, this guy catches everything. All right, he's got great size, and he catches contested balls all over the place, man. Deep balls, intermediate, tough over the middle. You can make those tough fade catches in the red zone. And then also the run blocking, not the pun blocking. F. Coop in the chat for the misspelling there. But the run blocking is awesome, man. This guy is so physical, and I love the mentality he brings to the turf every single Sunday. And even though he doesn't have the best long speed, he ran a 4.63 coming out. he's a very crafty route runner, and I think that his short area quickness allows him to be a pretty crafty route runner and get open against man coverage. I think he's a legit number 2 receiver. Now, personally, if I'm going to be trading a 5th-round pick, which is what I think it'll cost to get either one of these receivers, I would probably go with Darius Slayton just because he brings that extra element of speed and potential home run hitting ability to the table that Jakobi Meyers just doesn't bring. But then again, Meyers brings more physicality as a run blocker, so it's kind of pick your poison here. So let me know down there in the comments section, which player would you rather trade a 5th-round pick for? Type DS for Darius Slayton or type JM for Jakobi Meyers. Number 4 on my list here is Mike Williams, and we've talked about Mike quite a bit on the show here. Now, he does have a little bit of an injury history and all these different things, and I do think he's got a limited skill set. I think if he comes to Pittsburgh, he can really only play one kind of role, which is like a true X receiver. But honestly, man, like he kind of fits what the Pittsburgh Steelers want. He is big, 6'4", 218 pounds. He's got super reliable hands. He can win those 50-50 balls that Russell Wilson loves to chuck up. Okay, so if they leave him in single coverage, you can trust Mike Williams to make those catches down the field and then also in the red zone. And then he has a little bit of a vertical threat in this way because he can bring in those 50-50 balls, but the short area quickness is not there, which really limits his route versatility. He's not going to be running a vast array of routes. You can't put him in the slot. There's definitely limitations to Mike Williams' game, but in terms of what the Steelers want, Mike Williams fits a need on their offense that they like. They want to move George Pickens to the slot at times. They want to put George Pickens at Z and kind of expand his route tree because George is actually a very underrated route runner, in my opinion. They would like to do more stuff with him in that regard, which is why the Steelers were heavily interested in signing Mike Williams in free agency before he ended up landing with the New York Jets. So there's no doubting Williams is a really good fit. I would rather have the 3 guys I have above him on my list, but right now I think that, Cooper Kupp's one. Then they'll try and see and kick the tires on Meyers and Slayton. And then I kind of think at this point, Mike Williams is kind of their safety blanket. So I think that is probably the case. Plus, he's extremely affordable, whereas Cooper Kupp will probably cost you at least a 3rd. Darius Slayton and Jakobi Meyers will cost you probably at least a 5th. I think that you can get Mike Williams for probably like a conditional 6th or even a 7th-round pick, okay? So I think that those are kind of the reasons why he is an attractive option to some. But like I said, he does have some of those injury concerns as well. Now, for the rest of this list here, I just personally wouldn't really go after them because I think Mike Williams would be a better fit than all of these guys, and he'd be many times cheaper to get than all these guys. But I have Christian Kirk at number 5. He's more of a true slot receiver. He does get open. But I don't know if the Steelers want a true slot receiver here in Pittsburgh, all right? Plus, the money is a little bit tricky with Christian Kirk. It's still a little bit of a hefty contract here. I don't know how the Steelers are really going to make it work with Christian if they want to go target him, but I guess we'll see. Number 6, Adam Thielen. I just don't know if I love the fit with Thielen and the Minnesota Vikings. He does have good hands. He's always been very, very reliable as a red zone threat. But in terms of route running, in terms of separation, he doesn't really provide much of that at this point in his NFL career. So personally, I would rather have Mike Williams than trade more for a guy like Adam Thielen. Another name here that's kind of interesting, Odell Beckham Jr. The Miami Dolphins are kind of in the pooper right now, and they might be looking to sell a guy like Odell Beckham Jr. He's on a 1-year contract. Odell wants to win now. Odell will have a serious role here with the Pittsburgh Steelers, so I have him lower down on my list. He would be pretty inexpensive. I think he's a little bit washed at this point. But I do have him on this list because he helped the Rams win a Super Bowl after a trade 1 year. So he's definitely an option as well. Kendrick Bourne is number 8 for me. Kind of an unremarkable option, not the best athlete in the world, not the best separator. He's crafty. He's got reliable hands. He's a willing run blocker. But there's a reason why New England might unload him, and they pretty much replaced him with Jalen Polk this season. John Mechie is number 9. Now, I like John Mechie, but he's been a healthy scratch this year for Houston, and it seemed like that he was kind of a person that the Steelers could have gotten out and got if they really wanted him, and nothing really surfaced there. So I don't really think John Mechie's a super great option for the Steelers, or very realistic option, if I'm being honest. And then another guy that's been thrown around since way back when the Titans grabbed Calvin Ridley and even Tyler Boyd, Treylon Burks. Certainly somebody to add on this list. He kind of technically fits the Steelers' offense in terms of run after the catch, physical type receiver, bigger guy, but I just don't think he's a very good player. He doesn't separate at all. He's not particularly good in his route running, and he doesn't separate down the field, so that's why he's number 10 on this list. So who's your guy? Let me know down there in the comments section. Which wide receiver do you think the Pittsburgh Steelers should trade for? Are you a Cooper Kupp guy? Do you want to go trade, get less for Darius Slayton or Jacoby Myers? Do you want to pay even less than that and go get Mike Williams? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. For me, I'm going all in for Cooper Kupp. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because like I said, whenever the con artist strikes, if he makes a trade for a receiver, we are going to be going live right here on Steelers Talk with breaking news coverage. So if you don't want to miss any of that, make sure you click that subscribe button right now. Until next time, here we go, Steelers. Fun segment there, Coop.
Good one.
And next one's going to be fun, too. It's another in-depth preview here on Steelers Talk.
You used your signature word in that one.
Usurp.
Usurp.
I haven't said usurp in a video in a little while. Yeah. And it just kind of like naturally flowed out of me.
Yep.
Pause. Coop had to lean over for that one. All right, so coming up here, Week 8 preview versus the Giants. I got my keys to victory, trends, all this great stuff, getting you guys ready for this Monday Night Football matchup. Vibin with the dogs coming in with a $5 super chat. What's up, Vibin? Says, Jack, Coop. What's good? Sorry it's been a minute. Had to deal with some things. All is well. How about Russ with the smirk face? Still want to see us use Justin Fields, though. Here we go. And I like that point, Vibin. Like, I do want to see the Steelers utilize Justin Fields.
In certain situations, absolutely.
Like, if I have any criticism of what the Steelers did last Sunday night, it was, in some of those low red zone situations, I would have liked to see Justin Fields out there. Russell Wilson, he's pretty efficient in the red zone. He has been his entire career, so I kind of understand why they didn't want to take him off the field. But in, like, the QB sneak situations, I just think that, Justin Fields is the more effective option there. I also think that for minute drill, he should be the guy out there. Like, I think there's certain situations where Justin Fields is more valuable to the Steelers than Russell Wilson is on the field, but that's just me.
Also, I wanted to shout out Kirk Crater in the chat during the segment. He had a funny joke. He said, Mando, the choice of the Browns, because they stink.
Yeah, our friends at the Browns Report definitely do not use Mando.
They do not at all.
Definitely do not use Mando.
They need it.
They definitely need it. It's even in Browns colors. Look at this. It's even in Browns colors with the orange and all that, man. Come on.
How about them cheering when Deshaun Watson got hurt?
Yeah, I mean, I already knew that fan base was the worst in the National Football League, but cheering for their own starting quarterback having a serious injury, just, it took them to a whole nother level, man, a whole new low. $2 super chat from Gary. What's up, Gary? Thank you, my friend. Says, what's up with Frazier and Herbig? So Herbig's dealing with a hamstring issue, and if you guys know anything about hamstring issues, like, those things can linger, okay?
Oh, yeah.
So I don't expect Herbig to be on the field this week. I do expect him to be back. After the bye, though. Give him a couple more weeks. I think he should be on the field for the Commanders game.
You think he'll be back right after the bye?
Yeah, I think so. And then I think the same thing for Frazier. I think that ever since Frazier got hurt, the reporting has indicated that it was always the most likely scenario that Frazier would be back after the bye. So, Gary, don't expect to see Frazier or Herbig this week against the Giants. But honestly, man, as we're going to discuss here in a second, I think the Steelers have a great matchup against the Giants regardless, with or without them.
Absolutely.
You get those guys healthy, and then, as you get ready for this kind of gauntlet, if you want to call it that, towards the second half of the season, you guys are we're going to have those guys healthy, so that's great.
Were my eyes deceiving me, or did McCollum actually play pretty well?
Your eyes deceived you a little bit. He was okay. I think that Russ did a good job managing the pocket, getting the ball out relatively quickly.
Yeah.
McCollum did have some moments, though, where he took some bad losses on film, though. So use hashtag Steelers or Super Chat to get on the show. Right now we've had quite a few Super Chats, so it's looking like if you want to get on the mailbag today, you're going to have to send in a Super Chat. But if you want to press your luck, try to get on the show for free. You guys can also use hashtag Steelers along with your question in the live chat. Dylan Lewandowski, my man, $10 super chat says we need Cooper Kupp. I would love Cooper Kupp, man. I've been breaking it down all week. It feels like I'm saying the same points over and over and over again, but I think they need to be said.
It would be awesome, man.
Like the stuff creatively with the motions and the the different shifts that you could do with Cooper Kupp. The possibilities are endless when you have a guy like that, a Swiss Army knife on your offense. And, his route running ability, his ability to separate to all levels of the field. I mean, I've seen some people say, oh, Cooper Kupp is like, he's not a downfield threat, so he's not a fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's complete bullshit, in my opinion. Cooper gets open anywhere on the field. He is that good of a route runner, and he's got good hands. He can make tough catches. So, people say, oh, Mike Williams is the better fit. It's like, I agree, Mike's a good fit here in Pittsburgh, but there's just so much more you can do with a guy like Cooper Kupp, and I think he's more than worth any draft pick that they have to give up for him, short of a first-round pick.
He's like 7-Eleven, always open.
Always open, baby, and hopefully tonight he stays healthy when he plays the Minnesota Vikings. If he gets hurt, I will be in shambles tonight, Coop.
That would suck.
All right, so let's get into our next segment here. Make sure you get your questions in, and we'll get into the mailbag after the preview here.
Yes,
but
sir.
you guys know I get really in-depth with these previews, so it's going to be another great show coming up here. So without further ado, let's get into it. For the second straight week, the Pittsburgh Steelers take on a team from New York traveling to Pittsburgh on primetime football this week against the New York Football Giants on Monday Night Football. Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. And on this week's preview, I'm going to be letting you guys know everything you need to know about the New York Giants, their scheme, what they like to do, the trends for both sides. And then also I got my keys to victory, a full scouting report on Daniel Jones. And then, of course, at the end of the show, I have my official Week 8 score prediction. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But before we get into it here, make sure you guys click that subscribe button because we are currently doing a subscriber battle with our frenemies at the Giants Now channel here at Chat Sports. So we do have a Giants channel here at Chat Sports. It's hosted by Marshall Green, and right now they're beating us by just 9 subs, guys. All right, so if you're new here, make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now to help us beat the Giants. If that's not enough to get you to click that subscribe button, how about this?
Shout out to my guy Jack Sperry, but the Steelers Nation, the Steelers real ones. Look, it's going to be a lot of L's for you guys on Monday Night Football. I hope you're going to be all right when Daniel Jones goes from 1-15 to 2-15 on primetime football. We're beating you on the football field and also the Super Chat battles. Yinzers.
Isn't he charming, Coop? Yeah,
I love him.
He is crazy, man. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button. He's talking shit. Shut him up right now. Click that subscribe button right now and help us win this sub battle if you're new here. Okay, so let's get into this week's preview because this is going to be a lot of fun on Monday Night Football. You got the 5-2 Pittsburgh Steelers coming off that big-time win against the New York Jets, absolutely demolishing them in the second half, 31 straight unanswered points. And then you got the Giants, who have definitely struggled this year, sitting at 2-5, really looking to really save their season with a win on Monday Night Football against the Black and Gold. So you take a look at the results so far for New York. They took a couple losses in a row to start the season to the Vikings and Commanders. Then they got a win against the Browns. If you ask me, that's not too impressive. Okay. Then you lose against the Dallas Cowboys. Then you win against the Seahawks. That was definitely their most impressive win so far on the road in Seattle, scoring 29 points. Daniel Jones actually played pretty decent in that one. But over the last 2 weeks, the Giants have only scored a combined 10 points against the Bengals and Eagles, respectively. 2 struggling defenses, so they currently sit at 2-5. From a schematic standpoint, here's what you can expect from the New York Giants. Their head coach, Brian Daboll, I have a lot of respect for. He runs a modern pro spread offense, and I think that Daniel Jones, their quarterback, really limits him, okay? And I'll get into Daniel here later in today's show, but I really respect Brian Daboll and the job he's done in New York, despite some of the pitfalls at the quarterback position. Then on defense, they switched it up a little bit. They went to Shane Bowen, the former Titans defensive coordinator under Mike Vrabel. He runs a Belichick-style 3-4 type of defense. And they've been playing a lot better over the last several weeks here, and we'll be discussing both sides of the football today. But let's start with the offense here. The key pieces that you need to know: Daniel Jones, motor, Devin Singletary, their running back, and then 2 receivers, Malik Nabers and Darius Slayton. 2 guys with a lot of speed, 2 guys that can route run a little bit, and especially Nabers is extremely, extremely dangerous as a number 1 receiving threat. In the trenches here, this is the matchup that you guys can expect. Speaking about the New York Giants offensive line, it's kind of in shambles, and it has been for a while. Josh Azudu is the starting left tackle. He's not very good, all right? He's a backup. They lost Andrew Thomas for the season. Then you got John Runyon, who's okay. John Michael Schmitz, their center, isn't very good. In his second year out of Minnesota, Greg Van Roten is just okay. And then Jermaine Illuminor, he's fine, but he's really not going to be a matchup for TJ Watt, in my opinion. So the Steelers should absolutely have the advantage in the trenches here. And you take a look at the team trends, you guys can just see the mismatch here. I mean, the Steelers have a top 5 defense in the National Football League. Top 2 in points per game allowed. So you're making big plays when you need to make them. They're top 5 in red zone percentage, and the Giants are just falling behind in every single one of these categories. I don't have to talk to you guys forever about this mismatch here. You look at the points per game trends. The Giants are scoring 14.1 points per game, and the Steelers are allowing 14.4 points per game. So it's sitting at around 14 points is what the expectation is going to be for the New York Football Giants. That is, if the trends remain steady here. Then you look to the defensive side of the ball, and they have a pretty decent defense, man. I'm not going to lie, especially up front. Brian Burns is the guy that they've spent big draft capital on this offseason in a big-time trade. Dexter Lawrence is probably the best nose tackle in football. We'll talk about him later in today's show. A couple of young corners in Deonte Banks and Andrew Phillips. I was very high on both of those guys coming out of college. And then Tyler Nubin out of Minnesota, their rookie safety, is really having a good start to his NFL career. And you guys can see the Giants' numbers on defense a bit better than they are on offense. Okay, they're third and third down percentage, so that's a number to really keep in mind there. The Steelers are kind of in the middling of the NFL. They're doing a good job of not turning the ball over. They're right smack dab in the middle in terms of points per game right now. But with Russell Wilson, and it does seem like this offense has a higher scoring potential. If you believe the trends here, the Steelers are expected to score about 23 points on Monday Night Football. And once again, these are pretty similar here with the 23 for the Steelers and the 21.3 for the Giants. So if you believe the trends here, that would predict a 23-14 win for the Pittsburgh Steelers. A pretty comfortable win on Monday Night Primetime. But what I'll say about the trends, especially when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, is that you got to take them with a grain of salt, because a lot of those numbers and a large bulk of those numbers was with Justin Fields as this team's quarterback. Now you're in with Russell Wilson. You take a look here what the Jets were giving up per game in terms of points heading into last week, 18 points per game, and the Steelers offense put up 37 on them. All right, that was a top 10 scoring defense that the Steelers offense absolutely ran through last week. So with Russell Wilson, I think this is a completely different unit than what it was with Justin Fields. And you take a look at the comparison between the defense the Steelers played last week in the New York Jets and this week in the New York Giants, and you guys will see a lot of similarities. Now, the Giants are a little bit better on third down, but overall, man, they're in the same ballpark of just about every other category except yards per play, and the Jets were better in that department there. So I think that the Jets defense has been taking a lot of flack this week, but I think that they've actually been pretty decent so far this year. They've been above average to this point in the year, and the Pittsburgh Steelers and their offense, led by Russell Wilson, absolutely turned them into mincemeat, which is why everyone is crapping on them this week. Hopefully they do the same to the New York Giants. And honestly, man, I do think that Pittsburgh may even overperform. So the trends predict 23-14. I honestly think the Steelers could get back into the 30s this week. That is, if Russell Wilson has another strong performance on primetime football. So still to come here on the Steelers Talk Preview, keys to victory versus the Giants. I got 6 of them to share with you guys today. Then we'll get into my Daniel Jones scouting report, and I'm going to tell you why I think he's a bottom 5, if not bottom 3 starting quarterback in the league today. Then we have my official Week 8 score prediction for your Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the New York Football Giants. Now, before we get into the rest of today's show, go ahead and, Russell Wilson is looking pretty darn good. At least he did in his debut last week. So if you want to get your officially licensed Russell Wilson Steelers jersey today, you guys can use our link, chatsports.com/Russ, to get an awesome and brand new Steelers Russell Wilson jersey from our friends at Fanatics. Plus, it helps out the channel because if you use that link, chatsports.com/Russ, I'll put that in the comments and description of today's show. You click that link and you make a purchase. Fanatics going to send us part of the proceeds. So if you want to help out the channel and you want to get a Russell Wilson jersey in your closet today, kill 2 birds with 1 stone by going to chatsports.com/Russ. So my keys to victory versus the Giants. Only defensive key to victory that I have is don't let Malik Nabers beat you. Okay, this guy is a special player. He's going to be for a very, very long time, and he's going to be going up against a really, really good outside corner in Joey Porter Jr. Now, I think that Malik Nabers is the type of guy that can beat Joey Porter Jr. in certain scenarios, and because of that, if I'm Terrell Austin, if I'm Mike Tomlin, I am sending some safety help to help out with Malik Nabers because he is that dynamic. So if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, all of your focus needs to go towards putting a lid on Malik Neighbors and not let him beat you, because I'm not really all that worried about Daniel Jones and Devin Singletary and the rest of this Giants offense, if I'm being honest with you. They're not great up front on the offensive line, and Daniel Jones completely crumbles under pressure, all right? You take a look at my scouting report here. The two things I like about his game is that he's big. I guess that's something. And then, he's a plus, not a plush runner. He's a plus runner. That's pretty funny right there. But then lots of cons. Accuracy is spotty. The pocket presence is among the worst in the National Football League. And then he doesn't push the ball down the field. He doesn't trust his eyes. He tries to throw the ball close to the line of scrimmage and get the ball out quickly because he's not very good at handling pressure. And in my opinion, he's a bottom 5 starting NFL quarterback. And, too bad for Daniel. He has to go up against this Steelers pass rush, which has got monsters like TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, and Cam Hayward coming after him. So I do think the Steelers will get a lot of pressure on him. I think he's going to make mistakes. I think he's going to take sacks. There might even be some fumbles on his part. So if I'm being honest, man, if you can cover up Malik Neighbors, especially, in the quick game, I just don't think that Daniel Jones is going to do much against the Steelers defense. Then we get to the offensive keys to victory and the general keys to victory. For the Steelers, you got to pound the rock, okay? Because the way that you beat this Giants defense, okay, is that you stay on schedule and you run the football. You take a look at what Najee Harris has done over the last 2 weeks, averaging almost 6 yards per carry. He has 2 touchdowns. He has multiple splash runs on 35 carries, which is always great. So Najee is playing like the first-round pick that the Steelers drafted him to be 4 years ago. And, you look at the New York Giants, and right now they are last in the NFL in yards per carry allowed. They've also allowed the most explosive runs. So look for Najee Harris and probably Jaylen Warren to break a few really, really deep runs in this game, maybe get long touchdowns in the run game against this New York Giants defense. Dexter Lawrence is a really good player in this regard, but everybody else around him is just not very good and not very disciplined in this new scheme led by Shane Bowen. So the run game needs to be big for the Steelers, and I think it will be. Then when it comes to the passing game, I think it's important that Russell Wilson and Arthur Smith cultivate a game plan here in the passing game to get the ball out quickly, because the Pittsburgh Steelers, their offensive line is just, let's just call it middling, maybe slightly below average. And this Giants defense, if there's anything that this team does well, is that they do get after the quarterback. Brian Burns has been awesome. Dexter Lawrence is such a game-changing threat from the interior, pushing the pocket, and he's going to be going up against a backup center in Ryan McCollum. So plain and simply, this is a tough Giants defense to go up against, especially in 3rd and long situations. And right now, you look at the Steelers' offensive line pass block grades, and it's just not fantastic, all right? Dan Moore and Mason McCormick have been pretty good, but Ryan McCollum, I thought, had some bad reps in pass protection on film last week and pushed back. And then Broderick Jones has been awful in pass protection all season long as well. And honestly, Isaac Seumalo hasn't been fantastic either in pass protection. So I think that the right plan of action in the passing game here is to give Russ quick, easy reads, get the ball out quick down the field, or have an option to get the ball out quick in the short game, or go to a check down. All right, you need to get the ball out of Russ's hands quickly. That needs to be the plan, because if he doesn't and he holds on to the football for too long, the Giants will get home. Okay, and then if they send a lot of pressure, if they send a lot of bodies into the box to prevent the run game with Najee Harris, you got to do what you did last week against the Jets and take advantage of one-on-one opportunities down the field with George Pickens. You got to keep them honest in the passing game, and you got to make them pay if they're going to send one-on-one coverage against George Pickens, who we know is an absolute lethal threat for the Pittsburgh Steelers down the field. And with Russell Wilson's ability to throw those catchable touch passes down the field, you got to make the Giants pay if they're going to load up the box and completely sell out for the run. All right, so you got to have that balance if you're going to put up a lot of points in this football game, just like you did against the Jets last weekend. And then just generally on offense, you want to stay on schedule. Okay, why do the Giants have so many sacks this year? It's because they've done a pretty decent job at getting teams into 3rd and passable situations. Okay, so it's like 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, or longer. The Giants are just really, really good. They are a top 3 defense in the league on 3rd down. So the way that you combat that is that you get into 3rd and manageables, 3rd and 6 or shorter, or you just keep moving the sticks and push the ball down the field. This is a team that gives up a lot of explosive plays. They give up a lot of first downs. You can really move the football on this team as long as you're avoiding those 3rd and long. So for the Steelers, no penalties that put you way behind the sticks, no interceptions, that kind of thing, no negative runs on first and second down. You got to be able to keep on schedule if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers to score points against this Giants defense. Then the final thing here for a key to victory is don't beat yourself, because roster-wise, it's such a mismatch between the Steelers and Giants. That's why the Steelers are the heavy favorites to win at home this week. And plain and simply, if the Steelers avoid special teams mistakes, if they avoid turnovers, if they avoid silly penalties that just shoot themselves in their own foot, they should be able to win this football game, okay? So if they're the more disciplined team, I don't think it's even a discussion. The Pittsburgh Steelers will come away victorious on Monday Night Football, which is why I have this one whopping final score, 31-3. If you want to say like 27-3, I could certainly see that as well. Maybe 31 is a bit much here because this is just an absolute bludgeoning. But I just don't see this Giants team moving the football that well. I don't see Devin Singletary moving the football against this excellent Steelers run defense. I don't see Daniel Jones moving the football against this really good pass rush with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I just think it's going to be a very, very long night for Giants fans, and that's going to give the Steelers opportunities to score a lot of points in this football game. So predict a score for this one. Steelers versus Giants down there in the comments section. I've got a blowout, 31-3. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. And make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we are going live on Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time to discuss this game. An hour and a half of pregame coverage, pregame tailgate, then live play-by-play of every single play of this game. Then we'll have extensive postgame coverage as well. We have the largest Steelers watch parties live on the YouTube platform anywhere on Steelers YouTube. So if you want a place to hang out with your fellow Yinzers on Steelers game days this year, make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now.
Cool.
All right, so we got the mailbag coming up here relatively soon.
Got a couple of Cash Apps to get to and Venmos.
I don't have any Cash Apps. I've got one Venmo.
Cool.
Yeah, one Venmo. I'll send it to you here. Let's see. Send this to Coop.
Shout out Ephraim. Shout out Christian Andujar, LJ Straw, Paranormal, Michael Hansen, Sam Pugh, OG, Rodolfo, Mark, Ali, Curse.
There you go.
All chilling.
So if you guys got a question, make sure you guys super chat or hashtag Steelers in the comments section, okay? We're going to get into the mailbag here in about 5 minutes. Samuel Pugh is here. What's up, Sam? One of our Black Diamonds. The first ever Black Diamond
Yes,
is here.
indeed.
He says, Justin Fields looked more like a guy that was hoping Russ effed up last week to me, but maybe I read the body language wrong. I think Justin was happy for him. I think that Justin has a little bit of resting bitch face.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like he's just, his resting face just looks like he's, kind of frowning. And, Justin Fields is a good guy. I have nothing.
What up, Luke?
And I'm not going to speculate if he was upset about Russ playing well. $20 Venmo from my man Kirk Crater, one of our Black Diamonds.
Shout out, Kirk.
And he says, with a defense score in there, put my money on CK or DS trade, Cooper Kupp or Darius Slayton trade. All right, perfect. Kirk, we appreciate you, my man. Yeah, those are my top two options as well. If you can't get Cooper Kupp, I think you can get Darius Slayton for a 5th-round pick, maybe even less than that. And, I think he'd be a very solid number 2 for this team.
I wouldn't hate Darius Slayton at all. I mean, it's clear they need an upgrade at receiver. It's just a matter of how they go get that upgrade. I think Omar should sooner rather than later, but it wouldn't shock me if they left it right until the deadline either.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, Kirk, we appreciate you. We love you.
Thank you,
for
Kirk.
that $20 Venmo, my friend. And we're going to get into this mailbag here. We got enough questions?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
We should have enough questions. All right, man. Coop's got a Mavs watch party to get to here. So
yes,
we got to get into this mailbag here. So Coop, let me know when you're ready.
Yep.
We've got Gabe Edwards in here. We got Batman. We got Christian Andujar, Kirk Crater. We've got Steelers fan 2010, Tegster.
All right, cool.
Abraham Flam, Coop's in my ears, so telling me we're good. So let's get into the Steelers Talk Live mailbag coming at you right now. Welcome into the Steelers Talk mailbag. I am your host, Jack Sperry, and this is one of my favorite segments I get to do all week because you guys get to tell me which Steelers topics you want me to discuss. I love having this two-way conversation with you guys, And if you want to get a question on a future edition of Steelers Talk, you join us for our Thursday live shows at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, where we answer these questions every single week. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now. Join us for our live shows. And with that, I'll pause and open it up for questions. Got one from Myas. What's up, Myas? We got what's up, Koopy, and also Jackie. Do you guys see the Steelers in the Super Bowl? And also, what about Cooper Kupp to the Steelers? For me personally, Myas, I think there's a world where the Steelers make the Super Bowl this year. I think you need to get another weapon, and, things need to go your way in the postseason. There's lots of great teams in the AFC in particular, lots of great quarterbacks, but the Steelers' defense is awesome, and, if this Pittsburgh Steelers offense can learn to be a very balanced unit, Russell Wilson protects the football, comes up clutch in close games in the fourth quarter like he's done his entire career. Yeah, Russ has the experience that you want and that Super Bowl winning teams have. So I think that this team, is doing their best to try to give themselves the best shot at a title, and only time will tell if that actually comes to fruition. When it comes to Cooper Kupp, it's with a K, but absolutely. Then we got one from Omar's Burner, $5 super chat from the con artist, says, channeling my inner Windhorst and wondering why the Rams are pushing Puka back. Very interesting. What would happen if the Rams lose tonight? Fire sale. Well, I think if they lose tonight, they're almost for sure going to trade Cooper Kupp. And, I don't think it's a secret that they're shopping Cooper Kupp, right? And I don't know if the Puka situation has any bearing on how they feel about Cooper Kupp. I think that Puka's just ready to play. It just sounds like he's gotten a lot better this week, and now he's going to be on a limited snap count for that football game. So I guess we'll see what ends up happening in that game. So let me know down there in the comments section, percent chance that the Pittsburgh Steelers land Cooper Kupp in a trade. Put it on a scale of 0 to 100 for me down there in the comments section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds, and when that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question with a number from 0 to 100. Got a $5 super chat here from Vibin' with the Dog. Says, Coop, Jack, what's good? Sorry it's been a minute. Had to deal with some things. All is well. How about Russ, smirky face? Still want to see us use Justin Fields, though. Here we go. And I agree with Vibin' here. I think that, last week against the Jets, there were some low red zone situations, some QB sneak situations where I was like, maybe want to get the big quarterback in there instead of the 5'10 guy, right? And plus, not to mention, you probably want to preserve Russ's health a little bit in those situations as well, because Russ is going to have to push off with that calf in those type of situations, and that just seems like the type of thing that could aggravate whatever calf issue he was having. Now, it sounds like he's back to 100%, but you never want a setback, right? So, I think in certain situations, low red zone, short yardage, 4-minute drill even, I would definitely like to see Justin Fields have a package and get in there from time to time. Then we got one from Wilkes, how I'm going to pronounce this here. It says, we need to sign a good veteran tackle to help put our O-line, and Jones isn't good enough. I completely agree with you that Jones has not been good enough this season. Plain and simply. He's been awful. He's been hot garbage. He's been doo-doo garbage baby. He has been awful, okay? But who are you going to sign? I don't think David Bakhtiari wants to play right tackle. Donovan Smith has been a left tackle for the last several years. Does he want to come play for the Steelers and play right tackle? I don't know. There's really not a lot of options, and honestly, people don't really trade tackles at the trade deadline either, and there's not really many that are expected to be hitting the open market. Like Walker Little, the backup tackle, the swing tackle from Jacksonville, is like the best tackle that might get traded. Like, do the Steelers take a swing on him for a 7th-round pick? Maybe, but goodness gracious. There's just not a lot of great options, unfortunately. And right now, I think that Broderick Jones' status as a starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers, even heading into next year, is starting to get within question. Then we got one from Batman here. It says, do you think the Steelers draft a quarterback next year and dump Fields? It's too early to tell, Batman, but I think it's a possibility, right? If Russell Wilson and Justin Fields just aren't cutting it by the end of this season, and it's just not looking good for either one of them, then yeah, you got to draft a quarterback. And even if Russell Wilson ends up being the short-term answer here and they sign him to another contract, if there's a quarterback that you like in like round 3, round 4 that you think could develop a little bit, maybe even in round 2, maybe you think about taking somebody like that. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see once the draft season goes around. There's a lot of intriguing quarterback prospects this year. It's not a great quarterback class, but some very interesting names. So I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there, Batman. All right, now go ahead and check out our friends at Fanatics. If you guys want a brand new Russell Wilson jersey in your closet today, if you believe in Russ, you think that this team can start winning playoff games again with this guy under center, make sure you guys use chatsports.com/Russ. I'm going to put that link in the comments and description of today's show. And if you click that link and you make a purchase, Fanatics is going to send us part of the proceeds. So it helps out the channel. It helps you out because you get a brand new Russell Wilson jersey to add to your collection. It's all good stuff, man. So make sure you guys go down there right now. Use chatsports.com/Russ to get your Russell Wilson jersey today. Going from Gingy. Let's go. Says, do you see the Steelers taking another offensive lineman, specifically tackle, early in the 2025 draft? Also, big shout out from a Steelers fan from Dallas. Keep doing what y'all doing. Gingy, we're in Dallas. Let's go meet up, Gingy. Let us know in the chat where you're at, where you want to meet up. So, Gingy, answer your question here, man. It's not off the table. Dan Moore Jr. is a free agent. If the Steelers don't bring him back, that certainly creates a hole. Troy Fautano will be back, but at this point, I don't know if I trust Broderick Jones to play on the left or the right side, if I'm being completely honest. So right now, it's certainly an option, Gingy. And let us know in the chat if you wanna come meet me and Coop somewhere and hang out. Going from Six Rings says, how close is Corey Trice to getting back? Relatively closer. It's not looking like this week's Six Rings, but I think it's probably closer to after the bye. Sounds like the Cavalry is going to be coming back after the bye. Nick Herbig, Corey Trice Jr., of course Zach Frazier. You're getting a lot of injured players back after the bye. It seems like, so that's good news. Going from Gabe Edwards. What's up, Gabe? Says, do you think that Deshaun Elliott deserves a new contract with the Steelers? I believe he signed a 2-year deal, if I'm not mistaken, with the Steelers. So do they give him an extension this offseason? Certainly possible. If he's an all-pro this year, you certainly consider bringing him back. And honestly, he's making more plays on film than Minkah Fitzpatrick. Now, Minkah's still very good. Defenses are kind of avoiding him, which definitely helps out the Pittsburgh Steelers defense from a spatial perspective. He's such a good player. But, Deshaun has been equally as good, if not better, than Minkah this year. And, I want him to be a Steeler for a while now. He's a really, really good player, very versatile, very key piece to this defense. And I want him here in Pittsburgh for a while as long as he's playing that way. Got the original Black Diamond in the chat here. Samuel Pugh says, Roman Wilson continues to get hurt, but it's reports he's the best on the field outside GP. When practicing, could he just be in the doghouse or something Tomlin doesn't want to put out? It's possible, Sam. It's also possible that Mark Caboli, the guy that said that, just doesn't know what he's talking about. If I'm being honest, he was the one that said that was pushing the Kenny Pickett is so good in practice narrative. Right, he was a big reason why Steelers fans had such big expectations for Kenny Pickett because I think the word he used for Kenny Pickett was he was flawless in OTAs and in training camp practices. And, people were just saying, man, Kenny Pickett is just lighting it up in practice. But it's I'm not too sure if that was actually the case. I'm not sure if I really trust Caboli's word entirely on who's playing well in practice or not. But is it possible that Roman did something that Tomlin doesn't want to divulge? It's certainly possible, but I think the more likely scenario here is Roman Wilson just wasn't playing well enough to play. So get well soon, Roman Wilson, man. He just had that really bad re-aggravation of his hamstring injury. It looks like he's going to be out for multiple weeks. And, he's going to have to get on a moving train, which probably means he's probably not going to play this season. So you never know who watches our videos, man. Roman, if you're watching, we love you. We appreciate you, man. Spam those tents if you want to show some love to Roman Wilson. So our Week 8 watch party this week for Monday Night Football, we're going to be going live at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We're not going to have a normal Steelers Talk live show like we usually do on Mondays. But what we're going to do is we're going to have our watch party, 7 p.m. Eastern on Monday, pregame tailgate, followed by live play-by-play and extensive postgame coverage. Plus then on Tuesday, we will be going live along with our normal Thursday live show that week. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers. All right, Coop. So let's talk a little bit about Thursday Night Football here so that you can get on your Mavs watch party tonight. I think it's a very interesting matchup, okay?
Me too.
Minnesota Vikings, they don't have TJ Hawkinson tonight, but they have been really, really good. All right, they're coming off their first loss of the season versus the Detroit Lions at home. Now they're on the road against the Rams, and they're getting their 2 star receivers back that they've been missing for a while. So, like, right now, the Rams, I believe they're sitting at 2-4. If they win this game, they're sitting at 3-4 and in second place in the NFC West. If they win this game and Cooper Kupp plays well, do they start taking Cooper Kupp off the table in trade discussions?
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all because if this Rams team is healthy, I really think they're still one of the best teams in the NFL. They just haven't been healthy at all. And they could get on the right track, man. Matt Stafford's awesome. Cooper Kupp's obviously awesome. If you have an offense with a healthy Stafford, a healthy Nakua, and a healthy Cooper Kupp, anything can happen.
Yeah, I would say I slightly disagree with the Rams have one of the best rosters in the league. Because on defense, they have 2 good players, Jared Verse and Kobe Turner.
That's kind of it.
But then that's it. They have nobody on defense.
That's fair.
They stink on defense. So, I think that Sam Darnold is going to be able to kind of cook that defense tonight. I think that Minnesota's O-line is good enough to hold up against Turner and Jared Verse, who's been awesome this year, by the way. But at the end of the day, I think that the Vikings score a lot of points in this one. I do think Cooper Kupp is going to get a lot of targets. We might see him get over 20 targets like we saw him get in week 1 against the Lions. He might just get a ton of targets. And I hope to see him play well. It's kind of a double-edged sword, though, Coop, because if he plays well, that probably increases his trade price and his trade value. But if he doesn't play well, then you have question marks as to whether or not he's going to be valuable for the Steelers if they trade for him, right? So, I don't know, man. I think it's a double-edged sword. And I think that no matter where it goes, there's going to be some Steelers fans negative about the way things pan out tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It'll be quite an interesting game. I'll give your score prediction for you. You have the Vikings 31-17.
Yeah, I have 31-17 tonight, man. Like I said, I think the Vikings score a lot of points. I think the Rams do a decent job, but Brian Flores' defense has been confusing. Opposing offenses and opposing quarterbacks all year long. So give me the Vikes to win 31-17, and Cooper Kupp becomes a Steeler by next Tuesday.
We've been there. You're ready to be heard again. I'll also take the Vikings to win. Maybe a little lower scoring. Give me like 24-. I'll go 24-17. I think 7 less points for the Vikes.
Okay. I mean, I think the Vikings offense has been consistently.
It's been very good.
And we established the Rams defense sucks. So it's like, what's going to stop them from getting to 30?
God.
Well, don't say that because that means injury.
Yeah, it's true.
Hopefully Sam Darnold doesn't get injured.
True.
Hopefully Justin Jefferson doesn't get injured.
Oh, we got a super chat here.
Yeah, we did get a super chat. So let's put that up on screen here.
Darian Dalton. Russ is going to sing, "Our God is an awesome God," in the locker room and then come out and lead the Steelers to a 31-16 win on Monday Night Football.
That meme of him going like this and he's like, "Our God is an awesome God." It's just so good, dude.
That's awesome.
That's a good one, Darian.
Shout out, Darian.
Now that is $5 well spent by my man Darian. Appreciate you, man. He says, hopefully Kupp stays healthy. I imagine teams back away if he gets re-injured. I completely agree.
Oh, if he gets re-injured, teams will back away.
I mean, if he
but
gets
maybe he's cheaper for
possibly
the Steelers.
if it depending on the severity of the injury, he just can't get traded.
Yeah, possibly.
Like if
trade deadline is less than 2 weeks away.
Yeah, so if it's anything that would take him out for like a month plus, like there's no chance he gets traded because you just can't. You can't trade injured players in the NFL.
Trade deadline on November 5th. Nothing else important happening that day.
We don't talk about that stuff here at Chat Sports. All right, man. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. We will see you guys on Monday night. We're going to have videos coming out every single day before Monday. We'll probably put out the preview on Sunday, all that great stuff. Coop's got a Mavs watch party to get to tonight, so if you guys want to hang out with Coop, he's going to be doing that tonight. So we'll see you guys later. Until next time, here we go, Steelers.
Adios.